don't care. Like, just fuck off if you're going to be like that. We are kicking off the podcast. We tried to do this last week. It did not cooperate, so we're going through it again. I'm sitting here with Chris Spears. He is local drummer, a local musician. He's kind of been all over the place, California, here. He runs his own business, so for those of you who are interested in entrepreneurship and stuff, this is a good guy to listen to. So, Chris, how you doing? What's going on?
Doing well, man. It's middle of the week, so it's kind of like the meat of my week. I'm kind of on a somewhat of a fixed routine. I've been in business about 10 years, so I have a lot on my plate week to week, but load management, space it out. But it always ends up like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are like the apex of like everything I need to get done for the week to kind of free it up for the gigs on the weekends. So fortunately this week I've got a gig on Friday, which allows for some free time on Saturday and Sunday, because of course my wife works a traditional 9 to 5. She's an executive in aerospace, so when I'm going, it's like I saw her this morning. I won't see her probably until like tomorrow when she gets home, based on our varied schedules. But it's always nice when I'm in a band right now, Not Just Candy, really talented, relocated from New Jersey cover band, and they we're all of a certain age where like, 1 gig a week is about enough. So based on when that gig is on the weekends, it does afford that quality of life work balance where I know my wife and I are gonna have like Friday or Saturday and Sunday to like catch up with friends and do things. We're pretty responsible during the week. So it's like, glass of wine with dinner, go to bed early, because I've always been a big proponent. Since I opened a business, man, I've never gotten up earlier because when you dictate your own schedule, if you want free time, like get up early.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hard lesson I had to learn as I got older, was the more disciplined you are, the more free you are to make your life what it is. And it used to feel like, oh my God, I have to get up, I have to do this, I'm a slave to all this, that, and the other. But you find that if you blow all that off, you just end up with this giant pile on top of you, and you can't do shit. You don't have money to do shit. You don't have time to do shit. You're the yes man for everybody. It's the people who are disciplined enough to do the stuff that most people don't want to do that actually have free time.
Absolutely.
And that's why, you look at people like I use Joe Rogan a lot because I've been listening to him for over a decade. And that dude is everything. And somehow still has time to go out hunting and to go play pool and to go learn this and learn that.
Well, he goes hard at what's required to have that free time. And to me, like, I've never enjoyed when you have too much free time but not enough income and too much time on your hands.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, where am I wasting my energy that I'm not where I want to be? And I mean, in my life, I've been disciplined and lazy twice as an adult for a span of time. I've had good credit, bad credit. I've made money, I've been broke. And I realized the consistency of when everything was hitting on all cylinders is when I was getting after it the hardest. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I heard somebody say a long time ago, whenever you say you don't have time to go to the gym, look in the mirror and replace that with it's not a priority.
Yeah.
I heard Arnold Schwarzenegger once, God, that guy went hard after it. He's like bodybuilding champion. He's taking acting lessons all night. He was sleeping 4 hours a night because his day was so full of lessons and bodybuilding. But like, where'd he end up? And he actually said, he's like, if you need 7 hours of sleep, just sleep faster. Right? Like,
so
if you have big ambitions, like, I don't know, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like
I have
right now,
mixed feelings about that, and I agree that you shouldn't oversleep. But some of the most successful people, if you actually look into it, like the Jeff Bezos and like billionaire people, if you look into it, they're like 8 hours of sleep a day, because this is my weapon.
right?
It's like,
And you got to feed it with
shit.
protein.
Yeah, that diet,
Your
man.
brain runs on protein. So fasting is not the best idea in the morning. Like caffeine ain't going to do it. Like I need some protein. So, I mean, the first thing I do within about 30 minutes of waking up is workout.
Perfect.
Like I don't roll out of bed and hit an hour long workout, but like I got to like get acclimated. So that's why I sit down, coffee, email, protein shake, see what's going on. I write out a list, which I find is like motivating and rewarding, to write that list of things I need to accomplish today. And as you Sharpie those off, well, some days like Tuesday, it's all Sharpied off. It's 2 p.m.
Yeah.
So I got up at 4:30 and beat up the sun, beat up the workout, beat up all the work. And I'm like, you know what? If I want to go get a blackened grouper sandwich and a beer at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, knowing that distraction-free working from home, I never thrived in an office environment. Right?
No.
Like, these guys like, hey man, you see Monday Night Football? Like half your productivity is gone just socializing. So I'm at home office. My gym's in there. My drums are in there. So I call that the room of accountability. Because
Check.
everything that needs to get done every day happens in one room.
Perfect.
And then outside of that room, it can be Sports Center or watching a soccer game or riding the Harley or whatever. Like,
So when you're in that room, when you walk in and close that door, it's game on.
oh, I got that sign on my wall, get shit done.
Yeah.
And, I've cultivated a philosophy and basically like screw your feelings. And by that, I don't mean it in the Trump, like screw your feelings with like Calvin pissing on your feelings. I mean, the feelings, like we each have that individual, like the devil, the angel, or like I like to call it like the drill sergeant and the soft mom. Every time you want to accomplish something, you have two voices. Which one are you going to give into, right? There's the mom voice like, oh, you worked out every day last week. You know what, man? You've been practicing drums so hard. It's okay. Oh, you know what? Those client deliverables aren't due till the 1st. It's the 15th. And then there's the other voice like, oh, what? Your leg broke? Look, get after it. Like, get this shit done now, and you will have more free time.
Do you know who Jocko Willink is?
Absolutely.
That dude is, and so I've got all sorts of Jocko stuff everywhere, and his whole Get After It campaign, but I love the way that he goes about it, and I usually set my alarm to his stuff. When he's like, wake up, get out of bed, don't hit the snooze button. But I love how he describes it. He's like, that voice inside you that tells you it's okay, 5 more minutes. It's okay, I'll do it tomorrow. It's okay, not take care of my responsibilities, A through Z or whatever. He's like, that voice is a liar. It's a liar, and it's poisoning you with lies. And it's such an accurate way to describe that, because it's in all of us. Even the people that you see like him that are just together.
It's literally a daily decision.
Every
and I'll say,
day.
after months or years of a lifestyle of discipline, like, your shit gets done on a regular basis. But even, like, half the times I wake up and I'm like, it's the excuse voice starts coming in because I know what I have to do all day. And I write it down on the clipboard. I'm looking forward to, like, crossing them all off so then I can get to what I consider free time. But, yeah, man, I have that voice like, oh, come on, like, what? Like, one day we get out of shape? And it's like, well, one day can turn into a
2
lifestyle.
And 4. And then pizza. And then too much beer. And then...
like, my wife was working remote for, like, 5 years. and she just took her dream job with an aerospace company, which it was kind of like a renewal of the accountability in the household. So like now we both get up at 5. She goes over to the gym in the dark. I work out in the home gym in the dark, and we reconvene for like a little breakfast snack, little coffee, little chat, and then she leaves the house and I get back after it. So we're accountable to each other because I'm more concerned about outcomes than I am effort. And earlier in my career, there was a time I made good corporate money in like sales and marketing, but I wasn't fulfilled.
That's the worst.
I felt like a highly paid hoe if you look at it like a pimp and hoe game, right? So like I'm working at a car dealership in Los Angeles and the owner's worth $5 billion and I'm over here making 140 grand a year like I'm winning. He had 30 of us. Who's winning?
Yeah. You're building somebody else's dream.
So if I can get to the point where I'm the pimp, and I have digital outsourced hoes on the internet because what I do is digital. It's a different environment now, but I really am not about a whole bunch of employees. I like nimble digital ideas that are very easy to execute. Like in corporate marketing, it would take a year to roll something out, and you weren't even sure if your boss was going to take credit for the whole idea that he, turned down. Then that's the new concept. And
I don't do big companies anymore for that.
No, I can't do corporate. Even when I bartended, I didn't even work at like corporate restaurants. I worked at like my buddy's mom and pop restaurant. So if there's a bad Yelp review or a bad customer in person, right there with the owner that I know, and it's like I'm not losing my job. That customer is a jerk and is no longer allowed in our establishment.
Right.
So
now the last big
you work for Applebee's, man, you're gone.
Yeah. The last big company I worked for was A.O. Smith in Ashland City, Tennessee, making all the water heaters and all that shit. And man, I worked that was a job, and I worked long shifts. It was third shift, I want to say, is what I was on. So it was weird. I didn't see daylight most days.
They don't give a shit about you. Just hit your numbers.
When it came time, and some people probably just joining us don't know, I did struggle with painkiller dependency for a while and got myself some help. Go get help if you're struggling. It's important. It's out there. I went to a methadone clinic. Everybody's got their own ways. That's what worked for me. Went to a methadone clinic, got my shit together. I was on methadone. I told them about it, but when I took a drug test, I pissed hot. And they essentially put me on suspension for like a month. And then when I came back, they had all these people that were like, I had one very simple job. And these people are like screwing with that weren't even in my area, or screwing with like the heat in my area. It's in the winter when it's like super cold, and like they're just screwing with my working area. And I was like, what the fuck? And they were like, if you don't like it, you can get out. I was like, then I'm out. Like, I work my ass off for you. You just screwed me out of a month's pay. I had to take 2 payday loans just to pay my bills and put food in my mouth. They don't give a shit.
No.
They don't care.
You're a number.
Yeah. And then I had another boss.
They'll lay off 30,000 people to, please the stockholders. Cause,
And then I had
and then they'll hire 20,000 like 6 months later.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're just a working
Expendable.
chimp. You're just a working chimp.
Oh, it's funny, man. When I lived in Missouri, so I met my wife, I had a bachelor pad in the city, and she's a single mom living way out in the really nice suburbs, like Whole Foods and Cooper's Hawk across the street, ball players living around us, super nice area. Police come to get your cat out of a tree, no crime. People left their shit unlocked at their house. And I'm like, no matter where I live,
I miss that.
I'm locking the door.
I miss that.
I'm in Colorado, top of a mountain with the 5-mile fire road. Okay, I might leave it open. Even then, a bear or a deer might walk in. I don't know. Not paranoid, but I'm about home security. But, where was I going? Oh, yeah, move out there because moving to my place wasn't an option because like the public schools in the city in St. Louis or any major metro area, like you have a choice: pay 30 grand a year for private school, or move to the suburbs where the schools are adequate, right?
Better, yeah. That's what my dad did.
Yeah.
We lived in the suburbs specifically because he was like, "You're not going to fucking Denver schools." Or
we live on like a cul-de-sac in this affluent neighborhood, and we're in the ghetto part where it's just the $300,000 condos because the homes adjacent to that neighborhood are like $2, $3, $5, $7 million. Like Adam Wainwright, ball players. Like once guys get their like contract after their rookie year and get locked up in St. Louis with a pro franchise with their kids and their wife, they move out there. So
Right.
like awesome area, horse farms and stuff. But so working at home, I got my own business going, and one of the old ladies, I mean, they all hated me. We had motorcycles, and we would host an annual rat run thing with like 50 bikes out in front of our house, and like all these like 85-year-old widows are all standing out front, like they want to call the police, but they're like, oh, that's the attorney from the billboard I see and the commercials on TV, and oh, that's the HVAC company guy. It's like, so our friends in that Harley group were all like heavy hitters
Well
on the St. Louis scene. And as a fledgling business owner, I mean, to be surrounded by 50, 60-year-old guys that have all been in business forever and hear the sacrifice stories, the struggles. Oh, I started with one lawnmower when I was 14. Guys were $20 million as 150 trucks, a couple thousand employees, biggest in the Midwest. Like, it all starts from somewhere. So that taught me I gave up a lot to start a business. And man, the first 3 years, I'm working at like 3 different bars and running my business 7 days a week.
how bad do you want it?
I wanted it bad. And my son, I recall he was embarrassed. He's like, hey man, like, the rich kids on my football team came in and you had to wait on like 12 top of them. That's embarrassing. So that same kid, now 23, I think when he was 18 or 19, he was like, you know what, man? I realized now what you were doing and like the humility and the sacrifice. I mean, you don't want to be 40 years old waiting on your friend's parents necessarily.
You know what, though?
And I'm not too proud to do anything.
If you are,
but
you're still, and here's the thing, if you're complacent, waiting tables for everybody, and that's just your stale life, and you're blah, and you don't feel good, and you don't have energy, and you hate everything, then that's your fault. You need to fix it. But if you're doing that 40, 50, 60 years old, and you're doing that every night, and you got to hustle on top of it, and you're like, I don't give a shit, I'm 60 years old, and I'm going to make this happen, that's what you got to do. I don't care if you're 15 or 50. That's what you got to do. You got to make it happen. You're not too old. You're not too broken.
right.
You're not too tired. Get your ass up and get after it. Get it. Make it happen. That's the only way.
Well, and while I was doing that, working at those bars, I mean, to open the business, I sold everything I owned, basically, and quit my corporate job and just picked up 3 bar side hustles. So I'm a drummer that had no drums.
When did you start playing drums?
I like riding motorcycles. I had no motorcycle. Like, I sold everything.
No drums, no motorcycle.
But then, I bought a 4Runner and a new Harley, and I'm in a band and all that. Well, I'm still working at the 3 bars. Then it went to like 1 bar. Then it went to like no bars. And just the business was sustaining an elevated lifestyle from before I sacrificed.
What was that like when you got to quit that last job and was like, hey,
it was awesome, man.
My fucking business.
Dude, we had this like fucking redneck couple walk in. So like a boss of mine, one of the coolest guys ever, he was like a minor league baseball player, had like a cup of coffee in the pros, and we're talking early 2000s. Like, he comes into this bar I'm working at. I haven't seen dude in like 10, 15 years. He's there with like new children and shit. And his like son I last saw when he was 7 was now like in college. Just one of the major influences as a boss in my life. So like redneck mom and pop overall, like, with the the steak in front of the fucking barn couple sitting there. I'm like, hey, how may I help you? What can I get for you? Like, oh, we need a minute. So like, my old boss sits down. So I'm talking to him, and like, we're talking for like a few minutes. Sidebar back to the couple. I'm like, hey, you guys good? They're like, oh yeah, we still need a second. I'm like, all right, they already have like a bottle of wine. So I'm talking to my boss again for like 30 more seconds, and I get a tap. Like, hey, is the service gonna be this shitty all night?
Oh.
And I look at this bitch, I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, probably.
I think that's the first time I've ever seen you without your sunglasses on.
I know, it's so bright. So I walked over to the owners, it was a mom and pop place, and I'm like, hey, Carrie needs to take this table. Like, I don't think I have the temperament to do this any longer. And quite frankly, my business has gotten to the point where I don't need it.
I don't care. Like, just fuck off if you're going to be like that.
Yeah. Okay, and pause here. I got to piss.
A few moments later.
Well, we've emptied the tank. We're going to fill it again.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, we got one more to fill it.
And then, hey.
And then there was one.
This is good Florida IPAs for a change.
You know, I haven't...
Dude, 10, 15 years ago, come down to Florida, they got like lagers and light Florida beers with fruit.
Dude.
Now there's a beer scene.
I remember living in Daytona with a buddy of mine who was going to Embry-Riddle. And there was a World of Beer, which was like unheard of. Right. It was like the World of Beer.
Moved to Orlando.
He was like, dude, you want to go to the World of Beer? Like, fuck yeah, I want to go to the World of Beer. So we went to World of Beer.
If I didn't know what it was, I still would want to go.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like World of Beer, like Six Flags, but beer.
And then they expanded. So there's one in Denver
Sounds like
now.
Duffland.
But, oh my God. But that was also, I mean, Denver kind of, in a way, pioneered the craft breweries.
Oh, Denver, Portland, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Denver had the original, like, craft brewery boulevard in Fort Collins, which actually had a buddy that designed yeast for Odell's.
Okay.
And we used to go and just tour those and just go for sampling. Dude, he got me.
Oh, my favorite thing to do is just visit a new town and check out the breweries.
Yeah.
We were in Asheville last fall. It was like 20 breweries in a town of 30 people. You know?
Yeah. Go to all of them.
I felt a little strange because I didn't have like a goatee or purple mohawk, but like a different town. I felt like Austin or something. Like, man, I'm too old to be in Asheville, North Carolina.
Dude, I feel so out of place in society now because I go places like Denver, which is my home, or I go to places like Nashville, which is getting very not
LA,
conservative.
like it's, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you guys are psycho. Like, you guys are way over here. And then I come places like Florida, and I'm like, oh, you guys are psycho too. You guys are way over here. Like, I'm chilling in the middle watching everybody. Like,
I had to ask people when I moved here, like, okay, what's the Brandon reference? Like, I get it in context, but like that is only Florida. Go Brandon and
oh
shit.
no, that's
like,
everywhere. That's everywhere.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Well, do you know how that started?
NASCAR?
Yeah, so NASCAR, they had this dude. I can't remember his last name. I don't watch NASCAR. My mom loves it. She can probably tell you. But his name was Brandon, and they were doing an interview with this dude after he won or whatever, and the crowd, NASCAR fans, mostly conservative, Southern, you know,
mostly hammered.
They're
since
sitting there
6 a.m.
and they're like, "Fuck Joe Biden," and she's sitting there like, "Shit." So she goes, crowd behind us saying, "Let's go, Brandon."
So it was a broadcaster.
That was a real broadcast.
Okay.
And it went.
I mean, nice
nuts.
save. Now you're a meme. You know, you're a punchline.
It caught fire. Shirts, hats. Aaron Lewis was, every time you go to see Aaron Lewis now, half the crowd is shit hammered and they're like, "Let's go, Brandon." And it's like, okay, we've established.
Okay,
I didn't like the dude, but at a certain point, it's like, we're just beating a dead horse.
I won't drop any names or affiliate networks or anything, but I'm good friends with a guy. We watch football on Sundays, and he does local news here for like a long time.
Check.
And you recall the Family Guy which was a real life parody of the gal stomping grapes.
Yeah.
And then she falls. She's like, oh. And Stewie did that. Yeah, he worked with her as a co-anchor, and that ruined her career.
Oh.
So there's a story behind the grape stomping lady, which it doesn't end well because no one would hire her after that because they're like, well, you're the grape fall lady. And I'm like,
that reminds me of How I Met Your Mother, where Robin Scherbatsky falls off the carriage and like right into horse shit. It's in my hair.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, how do you recover from that?
You don't, apparently. But
no, it's a weird world right now, man. But
it is. I like Florida, man. It's weird. It's a weird friend scene down here. Like, my wife and I have lived in Florida 6 years. We have like lost as many friends as we've made because we have standards and boundaries. So when people don't respect that, and it's just like I'm from the Midwest, and one thing I'll say about that, like, people shit on California. I still have better friends in California than I pretty much do here. And LA's the land of fakeness. Although my friends out there were genuine. So it's a different place. Like,
yeah, but
we know a lot of people we call very few, like, tight friends.
You're a real dude, though. And that's the thing about LA is I feel like when you go out to LA, you get out what you put in. So, like, if I go to LA, I'm not talking to anybody who's fucking weird and fake.
You got a personality that would survive there. I think a lot of people are afraid of New York or LA or San Francisco.
I couldn't do the city. I couldn't do it.
Well, not anymore.
It would drive
I mean,
me nuts.
I'm 49 years old.
Yeah, too much.
I'm a suburban guy now, or a small beach community. Cause
I'll say this,
I like
though.
walking places.
I want to give you a round of applause because apparently Florida was labeled a place that no black person or gay person should ever go because they'll like you right on the spot when you come here. So you're here, you're thriving. You've got a marketing business. And...
yeah, you know. I mean, I always joke with my wife, like, if it was hers, we'd have more clients. But
and okay, so here's the thing.
I feel like I need to be like 30% better than my competition just to like get ahead.
I think that's just because
whatever
she's
you think needs to drive you, get it.
I think that's more because women are less intimidating. There are, and I'm going to clarify right now, there are and will always be the racist assholes.
Well, you look at like pharmaceutical sales.
Always.
Who sold that traditionally? When men were traditionally doctors, pharmaceutical reps were traditionally smoking hot women in low-cut shirts that knew what they were talking about.
Yeah.
To sell to the doctor. Like, oh, I'll meet you for dinner.
Back in the day when the smoking hot blonde would give you your Vicodin for your headache.
God, my dad's a physician. Like, I never bought a pen. He had
Really?
He had a whole closet full of, like, drug pens. You know, why would you buy a pen?
There you go.
My dad's a doctor. I got 10,000 pens. I mean,
there you go.
Back in the day before they regulated this shit, I mean, we never paid for allergy medicine or anything. My dad had free samples of everything, and he was an endocrinologist.
Dude.
Why are they giving an endocrinologist free samples of literally every drug unrelated to
Where
what
was
he
I when they
practices?
were giving out free samples of fentanyl? This is some bullshit.
Right?
Progress is not always good, people. Just kidding. Don't do drugs.
I wanted to touch on our music background.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's circle back to.
So I'll give you the abridged version.
Yeah.
We're both players, and I think what attracted me to want to hang out with you is your girl works at, like, in my estimation, the best beach bar in Brevard County.
Oh, it's the beach bar.
It's the bar. Well, they all say beach bar. It's across the street, so you can watch lifted trucks.
Oh, that
go
drives
by,
me nuts
like,
around here. This is the beach bar. It's not on the beach. Shut up.
or it's on a balcony 4 football fields away. Like, BB's is truly like you can walk 10 yards from the bar and put your toes in the sand.
Onto
That's
the beach.
a beach bar.
Yeah.
And she's like, man, you got to meet my dude. He's cool, musician, da-da-da. So when we go, like, relative to how we network, how we met. It's the music background, man. So I want to know more about you. I started playing when I was 5. My mother's a classical
Lord.
pianist, and she taught voice and piano for Washington University in St. Louis for like 35 years and was lead chair piano for the St. Louis Symphony.
That's cool.
So the pressure was always on, man. Like, I remember like my first, what I would call live performance in not in Publix, in public, was like a talent show in like 4th or 5th grade. And we played like Pretty in Pink and Don't You Forget About Me. Basically some shit off the like Breakfast Club soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in that grade, I was like, that's the movie.
Dude, I was the
Psychedelic
reject.
furs.
The reject with the gloves on. If you look at pictures of me in high school, I had the gloves and everything. I had never seen that. But I was like, get the black.
Oh, dude, 6th to 7th grade, I went from like Carlton to like militant Fishbone guy. Like cardigan sweaters and U-Men and, you know, all these Oak Tree and all that shit to like straight up homeless Vietnam vet, like in one off season.
Yeah.
Like came back just ripped up green camo flannel fucking.
It happens to all of us.
Like homeless Eddie Vedder, I would say I had to have a style back then. But.
If I could show you the goth pictures of me, which I'll put right there. When I moved out of my house, it was literally, I can remember the thought process the day that it happened was like, I have $300 on a credit card and I don't live with my dad anymore. I'm going to buy
a lot of beer.
all the black shit that I can buy. Right. The boots and the makeup and the fishnets and the spikes and the
You were in a band though, right?
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Look, because then...
Oh, I just walked around like that.
You're just going to shoot up a high school, you're not in a band. Like, well, okay. Cut that out. Like,
oh, my... Okay, so, not funny, but a really...
Columbine.
Brutal story. I grew up in Littleton, Colorado.
Never heard of it. What's it noted for?
Oh, yeah. So, every 3rd of July, we have a park called Clement Park that does fireworks. And I'm goth. So I wear my goth shit, and we went to Clement Park to watch the fireworks. My buddy went with me.
With your trench coat.
I had a trench coat
Looking
on.
like
But
Dylan.
here was the thing. I was at the park, so it wasn't in poor taste. I was just a goth kid. Well, when everybody's leaving, my buddy's like, hey, why don't you just meet me in the parking lot of Columbine? Didn't even think about it. Did not process the fact that I was wearing a trench coat. And I started walking to his car through the parking lot, and this guy leaned out the window of his truck, and he was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, and of course, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm 19, 20 years old, and let's go! And he was like, you're wearing a fucking trench coat at Columbine?
Today.
And I was like, oh... Can't even be mad at you. Can't even be upset with you. Like that is not.
You didn't read the room when you got dressed
that
day.
was not, and it wasn't intentional. But Lord, if they would have gotten out and beat my ass, to this day, I probably would have been like, all right. That was a tough one on the commute, dude. My best friend in 3rd grade, Jace, is 8 years old. He's in 3rd grade. That's when Columbine happened. When I was in 3rd grade,
wow,
I was my best friend was Kyle Bernal. Cassie Bernal was the one. They walked up to her and asked her if she believed in God. She said yes. They got a book about her and everything called She Said Yes. That was my best friend's cousin.
Fuck.
It was eerie. Like the way that affected my community when I was that age. As I've gotten older,
well, that was before it was all the time. Not to say frequency diminishes the tragedy.
That was the OG.
That was the OG.
That was the OG.
You know,
that was the one, man. That's the one that started a whole mess of these awful
Because
thing.
I've had these conversations with my wife and like close friends. I don't go deep into political anything with not really close friends because it doesn't end a relationship. You can have an intellectual exchange. But I'm a firm proponent. Like, if there wasn't one school shooting or one really famous serial killer, there'd be dozens that didn't exist.
That's why they do it. They do it for attention.
Yeah.
It's the attention factor. And it drives me. That's what pissed me off about the Boston bombings in Rolling Stone magazine. Fuck you, Rolling Stone. When that dude did the Boston bombings, they threw him on the cover of Rolling Stone, and they were like painting him as this quote unquote victim because of
Get the fuck out of here
like
with that.
shut up. And I'm not gonna go into it because I'll probably pull this video off, and that's fine, whatever. But you can look it up. That dude killed people. He killed people because he was an asshole, not for any other reason. Because he was an asshole.
I mean, really, if you're a loser, what's the one way you can get famous or on the news? Something stupid, not something amazing.
Well, look at the dude that killed Dimebag, man. I don't even remember his name, but good, I don't want to remember his name. But the dude that walked on stage and killed a guitar player because...
Is that how that went down?
Oh, dude.
Because I'm not into that kind of music like you are, so like that was 15 years ago or something.
That one, 2004, December 8th, 2004.
20 years
I
ago.
had just been introduced to Black Label Society in the Zach camp, and they were besties. I mean, they were inseparable. And that morning came, and I saw it on the news, and I believe it was Cleveland, Ohio, or something like that. This dude who used to be in the military.
I'd kill myself if I lived in Ohio.
Oh, God.
My parents are from there. Like,
but
don't go.
no, they were playing a nightclub, and this dude who was a big Pantera fan and used to be a Marine, I don't know what was going on, if he was just really messed up in the head or what, but he stormed the stage and just... And
wow.
that was the end of one of the greatest guitar players that metal has ever known.
Damn, I didn't know it was like that.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, there was a guy when we were out on tour that was trying to give Zach these photos because he was there. And they were graphic. And
That's
Zach
weird.
was pissed. And I mean, rightfully.
So he was just trying to incite a riot, not be your homie. Like,
I don't
you don't
know, man.
disseminate stuff
what
like
do
that
people
to be
think?
cool.
People are crazy, man. Like, not. I like to think that everybody has the same amount of common sense that I do. That's not true.
Oh, we had
It's
that
just not
conversation
true.
off camera last week.
Yeah, they're
I
just
realized
stupid.
like decades ago, the average American
It's stupid.
watches Steve Wilkos show and has a 500 credit score. They're fucking stupid.
Dude,
Like,
people still watch The View. People still watch 4 angry women talk shit about politics that they know nothing about because it's in the script. And that's a popular show. Like, get out of here. Really?
I mean,
Jerry Springer was
what
a thing?
does Hoda and the other chick do like all day when they're shit-faced at 7 a.m. Eastern? I'm like, that kind of, where do you go from there? Like brunch and then in bed by noon?
That's
And rinse
not-
and repeat to get up at 4 a.m. the next day? I don't know.
You want to talk about a shitty
Seems kind of
lifestyle?
a limited.
That whole Hollywood scene is wrapped up in themselves with no connection to the real world. And it's full of rapists and murderers
It's crazy.
and thieves and
Now, I'll tell you, I enjoy my no real connection to the real world, but I'm not a pedophile or an asshole or a fucking...
that's
you know.
different though. Like there's a
And
balance.
wife and I give back, man. We donate to things we believe in.
What's your favorite charity? Well,
Oh
we'll
my
get on
God.
something more positive. No,
Well,
we're gonna stop with the.
Let's start with food bank, man. For like what $1 does for the food bank, buying it at bulk wholesale,
Really?
like $1 can feed like households. So you donate $100 to the food bank, you're feeding hundreds of people because
tell you
they
what.
buy it. Like Publix buys it, man.
I
$1 at
think-
Publix.
Let's do this. I think a really cool way to kind of kick off the end music portion of this is if you're listening, if you've gotten this far, and I'll probably throw this in the description as well. Let's get some information from the food bank.
Absolutely.
And I'll throw it right here. And if you feel like making $1 go a long way, click this and donate $1 to the food bank. And
Oh,
let's
it's something
feed
like
some people.
$1 is like $20 worth of food because they buy in such volume.
Yeah, let's
Well,
do
think about
that.
it. If you buy $1 bag of Doritos, like what's that really cost them?
Nothing.
15 cents. So that $1 to the wholesale buy to feed your neighbors goes a tremendous way.
So it's a write-off to the big companies for
I don't
like a
donate through
donation.
Publix. No, if you give it actually directly to the food bank, there's no CEO making
Well, that's what
$20
I'm
million
saying
a year.
is
It's like literally like 99
companies-
cents goes to feed people, not like 12 of the dollar.
I'm assuming the companies that make the food will donate for a write-off to the company,
and
and
they
you
give
pay
a discount.
for
So I mean,
the
that
wholesale
that buying power is
value.
huge. Like,
Yeah.
so you know what? I don't feel like it's daunting when you see all the problems globally. Like, oh, what can I do? What can I do? Well, you know what? You can start local and help your neighbors. So when we're at Thanksgiving or like the holiday season, I think is where it really exaggerates. Like, you know, we're not zillionaires, but man, we're fortunate. I've never been without food, friend, company, drink, and good times between Thanksgiving and New Year's. And there's so many people like, man, it ain't a turkey. It ain't a big table. It's like barely even eating during the holidays. And that's hard to fathom for like first world motherfuckers like you and me. It's like, well, that's the best your dollar can do. And volunteering your time. Like my wife and we donate time to like foster kids
I love that.
in Brevard County
Yeah.
and the food bank because I'm adopted and
Okay.
I can't even imagine not being able to eat. Like that's just like not being able to breathe.
Have you ever heard Tony Robbins' story about Thanksgiving? And one of the things that like completely changed his life forever.
I've not.
So they were really poor growing up. His mom had some drug dependency issues and used to send him down to the store to get her drugs, bring him back, and she was and you'll hear him say like he's like, I love that she was like that because she made me the motherfucker I am today.
Right.
You know, everything. If you're gonna blame somebody for everything that's wrong, you got to blame them from what's right too, because they made you that way. But
my upbringing kind of sucked. That's why I'm kind of tough.
Chuck. But he'll tell you, and this is one of my favorite stories. It was Thanksgiving, and they didn't have money, and somebody came to their door and gave them Thanksgiving meals.
Can you imagine?
And his dad was pissed because he was like, "Oh, I mean, it was an ego blow."
Yeah.
But he was like, I remember that. Now he's got a whole freaking food charity. I can't remember. It's like, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a good one. And I love Tony Robbins. That dude is. I just feel like if I could meet him and just shake his hand and talk to him for 5 minutes, I feel like it would change me as a human.
You know
He's
what's
just one of
nice
those
about
people.
like the time we live in is, you know, you may not meet the guys, but you can get all inside them,
It's
man.
all
There's
there.
so much content. Like, I'm 49 years old. I feel like I live in the best time. I was born at the right time. When I was younger, before I opened a digital ad agency, I was like, man, if I was born in the 50s, I'd have been a fucking legendary rock drummer.
Right.
But I was born in the 70s, and I have old school sales and marketing principles. I can read a Rand McNally map, and I can build bespoke websites and ads. I can do the old and the new shit. I feel there's a 5-year period where you're born where we can do what we do right now. It's like the Goldilocks years.
We live in a very
Old school
interesting
principles,
time.
new school tech, and always learning.
If you look at what's happening right now, we're throwing this podcast up on
We're somewhere
YouTube.
between us and our parents whose DVD player is still blinking midnight or noon.
Oh,
they
dude,
don't even know.
I still remember what
But-
it's like to take a pencil and roll up a cassette player. I remember what
Yeah.
it's like to have a VCR eat the
I
VHS.
love tech, so for what
Yeah.
I do now, and I learned at an early age, like a lot of friends in like IT and shit, like they're going back for certs every fucking
It's
6 months,
so
8 months, years,
cool.
and they make a lot of money. I'm like, oh, so if I just continue to learn, which keeps my mind
Yeah.
flexible.
And it's easier than ever to make money, but it came at a cost. Because now all the kids and all the teenagers and all the people that are my age are so glued to this shit. Every time Facebook says something, it's like Facebook says jump, somebody jumps. And they're like, oh, that's a fact.
Dude, video games were so shitty when I was growing up. I would rather build a ramp, ride a bike, swim laps, play badminton, play volleyball, race you, like
I try
floor hockey,
day.
ice hockey. There was so much shit better than Pong or Pac-Man. It wasn't a VR immersive thing. Who knows, man? I'd have been a fat kid if I just like doing shit that requires work.
I probably
and I like doing shit that like I can see progress.
I'm
still a student of playing drums. I've played for 40 plus years because I feel like this year I'm starting to plateau, but plateauing with perfect timing and playing for a band and being able to execute anything off the cuff I want to within the framework of not making it about me, but like featuring the band in front of me, well, then I'm the best I've ever been.
Okay, you know what? And I got to say this about drummers. This is one thing that I've never liked about music.
Fucking drummers.
The drummers, you guys are the foundation of everything that everybody else does and get the least amount of recognition, I feel like.
It's okay. You only notice a drummer if they're egregiously bad or overplaying, even if they're good. When you see a phenomenal band, like, you want to notice the vocals and the guitar inflection and how solid the bass is and everything. It's like when you walk up, I got friends, they just built, like, the biggest house in fucking Melbourne. It's amazing. We're going to do football Sunday over there. And, the thing you're not noticing is the foundation. You're looking at the roof line, the garages, the pool, like everything. But as a drummer, I'm the foundation.
Those motherfuckers that did the rebar and the concrete, those are the people.
I'm the thing you notice last, but you're like, oh, if it's a great band with a very solid drummer, should be the last thing you notice.
You know what, too?
Because that drummer's doing his job.
Shout out to the people behind the scenes, the people with the lights and the stage setups and the coming out to fix all the guitars and the drums and the microphone. Those people, I tell you what, I helped those people for months in their hard work. The load-ins at 5 a.m., the load-outs at 11, 12 o'clock at night until 2, 3 in the morning and getting up the next day and doing it all again because we're in another city. Those guys kill it. Like, and that whole, when you spend $100 on a concert, look around and watch what's happening and you'll respect that production so much more because there's so much that goes into it. So much. The audio engineer can kill a show or can completely make it.
Pause there. You keep talking.
I have to pee again.
That's it. Goodbye.
Let's see how SpongeBob's party is shaping up.
It's been about an hour, so I'm sure we could probably wrap it up. And again, I'm going to throw a link to the food bank up here and in the description. So if you feel like doing something super awesome, $1, $2, however much you feel like you can give, goes a long way. That's something that Chris and his wife do regularly, it sounds like. So we'll just kind of do a good cause every show. I think that's a great thing to do. So we'll wrap it up and we'll see you. Well, I guess we'll see you next Sunday. See you next Wednesday. Because it takes me forever to go through this shit. You have no idea how much work I put in for you to listen to me talk. Chris, thanks, man. Thanks for coming over.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Always a pleasure. And, got to kill a couple beers and a couple hours before band rehearsal.
No, I think this is
long
probably
ass day. It's like
one of my favorite weekly routines now. Is just
it's gonna be a thing.
Sit down and have a couple beers with you and just shoot the shit. Like no, That's just hanging out with a friend and talking.
Happy hour at your boy's house.
Yeah. Well, sweet, man. We'll see you next week. We'll see you next week. And stay metal or folk or country, whatever the fuck you want to stay. Stay that.
Industrial thrash polka.